I know it's been a while since I uploaded, and it's kind of a long story. Here it goes. Last Thursday, when I gathered up my 700R4 and Jimmy Dale's Power Glide, I left the house headed for Alliance, Ohio to go see Dion and drop these 2 transmissions off. I was in no particular hurry, so I decided to take the back way over and managed to end up in a little bit of a detour, unexpectedly. State Route 16 is closed eastbound on the way over to 77, and the detour route is a little confusing. But eventually I managed to make my way over to the interstate to head north up 77 to Canton. It's pretty easy for me to remember how to get to Dion's. Once you see these 2 goalposts on either side of 77, you'll want to take the second exit on 62 East after you pass the Pro Football Hall of Fame, at least as long as you're headed north. If you're headed south and you pass the Football Hall of Fame, you went too far. Anyway, once you turn east on 62 in Canton, it's about a 35-minute drive out to Dion's shop in Alliance, Ohio. I made it out there and dropped the 2 transmissions off, and then it was time for me to turn and burn back towards home. It turns out that trip up to Dion's to drop those transmissions off was how I spent the last bit of decent weather for the next 3 or 4 days. And the weather wasn't the only thing that sucked. Somebody managed to pass off some kind of a bug, and a lot of us have gotten sick. Not Vicky though. Somehow she's managed to steer clear of it. That may have something to do with the fact that she's been in the house making cookies instead of being outside working in the rain. In order to keep my grass under control, I ended up mowing it in the rain too. We do have plenty of shop work to do on my old Nova, but the first thing we needed to do was get the car cleaned up underneath. So I made a special trip into Jack's Wax to stock up on some cleaning supplies and pick up one of these little handheld soakers to spray super citrus underneath the car. They boxed up all the stuff that I got, and I headed back to the shop where Billy was ready to get started. Now keep in mind, I raced this car for almost 20 years and I never had a lift. So this car's never been up in the air like this or even cleaned underneath until now. Anyway, after Billy got it soaked down really good, I broke out the power washer and sprayed it all off. While we were waiting on the car to drip dry in the shop, I turned my attention to the drainage problems that we've got out back. June Pup and I got the creek cleaned out, and then I turned my attention to the catch basin out in front of the shop that no longer drains. That's when I found out my tile jetting hose is ruptured. Kenny and Buckwheat were the last ones to use it, and they never said anything about it needing to be replaced. Even with the loss of pressure, I managed to get done what I needed to get done. I got one section of tile opened up, but unfortunately the section that goes from the barn to the creek is going to have to be replaced. However, by Sunday morning, the water level had gone down enough to clear the water out from around the front of the building. So I know I've scored at least 10 points with Vicky for this, but if I don't get it fixed before it rains again, it's still going to end up backing up in front of the shop door. I was just about ready to start digging when I intercepted smoke signals from Uncle Buckwheat. I have to go rescue Buckwheat. The fire truck broke down in Granville.
He was headed to the tulips.
As it turns out, I'm not the only one trying to score points with their significant other. After seeing the tulips blooming up at Timbuck Farms on my video last week, Uncle Bucko has decided he's going to go up there with his little fire truck and tiptoe through the tulips. At least that was the plan, until his fire truck shredded the serpentine belt on his way out of town. Of course, he wasn't going to allow his brother to find out until he had no choice to call me for help. Needless to say, I was very excited to come to his rescue and film the whole fiasco. Well.
Yeah.
Look how the tables have turned. Lack of maintenance.
I just got the truck.
Buckwheat's quite proud of his little fire truck S10. He's put a set of Krager SS mags on it off my Malibu. Besides putting my old Kragers on, he's actually lowered the truck 2 inches, and he spent most of his time polishing it instead of taking care of regular maintenance items, which it obviously needs. Now you can go tiptoe through the tulips. Perhaps spending a little bit more time making sure the truck is road ready rather than polishing it and lowering it would have prevented him from getting caught headed to the tulip patch. Anyhow, when I got back to the house, I found Tommy and Billy watching basketball games in my living room.
RJ Barrett has literally thrown this.
While Tommy's losing money on DraftKings betting on teams that lose, me and June Pup hopped on the excavator and started digging up this drainage tile out behind the shop. I'd like to get this thing replaced before it starts raining. I dug down and found the tile and then chased it down to the creek until I found the point where it was plugged up. I got the tile opened up and then dug a new trench down to the creek. I was finishing up for the day about the time Buckwheat was finishing up picking tulips, and he just so happened to stop by the shop on his way back to his house.
What
kind of mess.
Well, this is what happens when I hire you to do my drainage work.
I don't do drainage work.
Exactly.
That's your job.
Remember when you jetted it out last time
Yeah?
and you didn't fix the problem and it all filled back in?
I'm not the dirt guy.
Guess what? You're the ditch guy. Tomorrow we gotta go to the hardware and get tile and fittings and connect on this busted in piece down here and run a new piece down to the creek. So we just gotta cut this off, connect onto it, and run a new section down the creek. Easy peasy, Japanese.
Sounds simple enough, but you're probably going to complicate it. I don't know. You'll find a way.
Bucko's right. It's a simple task, but the complications did come in the form of Mother Nature. Rain, and buckwheat is less than enthused. Now I can understand Jeremy's point of view. He would rather be doing this when it's not raining, and I agree. The only problem is when it's not raining, we're doing race car stuff. So the only time I have to dedicate to doing honeydew lists is when I can't do race car stuff or go racing. Therefore, we work in the rain. Now this isn't my first rodeo. I've done this many times before, and in preparation, I shoved all the limestone off to the side so that I could reuse it to cover up the mud and refill the trench. Now Jeremy grumbled the whole time that this was going to be a huge muddy mess when I got done. As usual, he underestimated my abilities. Like it never even happened.
What is it with you and Dad?
What?
Every time it rains, I can't get you guys to do anything in the dirt in the sunshine. But as soon as it rains, the two of you are out in the tractor, no cab, into misery. Hence Dad getting stuck in the mud all the time.
I didn't get stuck in the mud. You can't even tell I ever dug that up. It basically rained all day Monday and all day Tuesday. And although I managed to get my drainage work done out behind the shop, up at the farm, Dad's not so lucky. At this point, the only thing we can do is hunker down and try our best to stay dry. Even Dad threw in the towel up the farm, so Jeremy went up to put his tractor away. Although the rain's keeping us out of the field, there is one more thing on my honeydew list that I can get accomplished regardless of the weather. I made a trip up to the township offices to pay for and apply for a zoning permit to build a new shop out behind our house. Once I had the permit paid for and the paperwork in hand, I hand-delivered it and put down a deposit for the architect to draw up the building plans and submit them to the county. Now, I think everybody who's watched my channel and Billy's channel probably already understand and realize that we've needed a bigger shop. Right now, the Falcon is stored at Tommy's house, Billy's Chevy 2 is at his house, and then my Nova and everything else is stored at my house. And what we can't fit inside the shop and in the merchandise area has to either sit outside or gets placed under the lean-to out back. So when we're working on race cars, there's obviously no room inside to do regular maintenance. So Jeremy ends up having to work out in the driveway, often in the rain. 4 or 5 years ago, I started the process of building a building pad in preparation for this new shop. And finally, we've got drawings and a plan for the brand new Street Racing Channel garage, fabrication shop, and merchandise shipping center. If everything goes according to plan, we'll be looking at this out the back window of the house by mid-July. At this point, the only thing we have left to get is a quote on concrete, which is why I called Mr. Roger Dorsey out to come out and take some measurements and take a look at the spot, which is exactly what we were up to when Vicky pulled in.
Did you see my little sticks where I was marking out the footage? Okay.
What it is, it's supposed to be 62 by 60. She's got 162 by 60.
Vicky's so excited she couldn't wait for Roger, so she's been out there shoving sticks in the ground, trying to mark and measure everything off with a 16-foot tape measure.
My tape measure only went 16 feet at a time, so it was an ordeal.
So you stuck a stick in the ground every 16 feet?
Yeah, that's the other one.
She's only 18 inches off of that.
All right, everybody, so we've got everything all measured off. Roger's got everything that he needs. We've got a game plan in place to finish up the barn pad and get everything taken care of. Roger's gonna get me a price on the concrete. We're gonna do a heated floor like Bob has up at his machine shop. It works really well up there, and I think my next door neighbor over here has got a heated floor. I'm gonna go over and talk to him too. But this is gonna allow us to be much more efficient at trying to film content for all 3 channels. And it's gonna make it a lot easier to keep everything organized. You know, the trailers and the trucks and the race cars, like everything in one spot. And everybody who works on it all in the same place, instead of being scattered out over 2 different counties and 3 different garages. And it's just been a nightmare trying to film anything and make content, you know. And I know everybody's been asking, you know, you used to be able to film more often, or, you know, be able to put videos up more often. And now that everything's scattered all over the place, it's been a lot more difficult. So we're working on this. We're really excited. Vicky's really excited. She can't wait. It's going to have so much more space, all new shop, all new lighting, everything. It's going to be really nice. So we're working on that. But right now I need to head into Jack's Wax to go pick up our passes for this weekend's event, Street Madness. Check this out. Originally, the Jack's Wax Street Madness events were started on 17th Avenue at the Jack's Wax headquarters in Columbus. But recently, they started hosting the events at National Trail Raceway, where people can actually go out on the track and race and make passes in their daily drivers, exotics, and street rods. All right, I'm headed into Jack's Wax to go get our pit passes.
Very good.
You're not going with me.
I can't. I got stuff to do.
What?
I'm busy shipping. And then
Shipping?
I got a appointment to get my fur done.
So Vicky didn't have time to go with me, but June Pup wouldn't take no for an answer. And since I haven't been able to drive my Malibu for what seems like a month, me and June Pup hopped in it and headed towards Columbus to go pick up our pit passes for Jack's Wax Street Madness this weekend at National Trail Raceway. I'll have the Malibu there, Billy's taking the Mustang, and I think Tommy's bringing the Falcon down there to test. Anyway, when June Pup and I got to Jack's Wax, they were in there folding merch and getting ready for the event. Not only do they have a ton of new t-shirt designs, they've also got something special for the car show and burnout contestants. Now this will be only the second Jack's Wax Street Madness held at National Trail Raceway. The first one was held last fall for their Halloween event, and the turnout was far more than anyone ever expected. There was hundreds of really nice cars on display, and there was a lot of cars making passes out on the track. I was one of them. At that time, the Malibu was still rocking the old 355 small block, and it had just gone into the 1050 range for the first time ever. The event was a huge success and everybody had a fantastic time, so it's no surprise that there's thousands of people who have already bought tickets and plan on attending. I've actually already got a couple of grudge races locked in for Saturday, and I plan on putting a new personal best on the board in my old Malibu. All right, welcome back, everybody. I know it's been a week since I put up a video, and I apologize for that. Let me explain. During my week worth of honeydew list work, some of which we did out in the rain, I managed to get sick and almost lost my voice there for a while. As you can probably tell in some of the voiceovers, my voice is a little bit raspy. May sound a little different. That's because I've been sick. Obviously, it's difficult to do voiceovers without a voice. So, that, and honestly, it's been a really slow week. I mean, not every week is going to be entertaining around here, and that's been the case this past week. A lot of rain, can't do anything outside, can't really do much with the cars outside. And the Nova was in here tying up one bay of the shop for a week. And Kenny's been sick. Kenny hasn't been here hardly at all in over a week and a half. Rob is also sick. He's been at home. Billy's been a little bit sick, not as bad as everybody else. I wouldn't say I've been like terribly sick, but just not feeling well, headache, congested, whatever. And my voice has sounded terrible. So I'm still a little stuffy, but I'm feeling fine. It's not COVID. We've all taken COVID tests, so we're all good there. However, we're not all back up and running yet. Robbie hasn't been here for a week either, so Billy's been here working on and off on my Nova a little bit. We did manage to get a new factory fuel tank for it, and Billy's got a sump welded in it. However, we're still working on some plumbing and mounting a fuel pump and running fuel lines and all that. The engine and transmission are down in the car though. The turbos are mounted, the headers are on. But what we need to do is get the car running and drivable so that we can move it from here to Billy's shop so that they can do the fabrication work down there. So right now I'm just out here in the shop working on this video and doing a little work on the Malibu, just going over everything, checking everything to make sure it's ready to go this weekend. As I mentioned earlier, I'm going to try and set a new personal best this weekend. The car is going to be on radials, and although this is a prep track event, the track surface will not be very good for very long. There's a lot of street cars that are going to be there, and they tend to tear up the surface pretty quick, especially the hard tire cars. So, you know, the last time I was there, I was making some really good passes. I made a new personal best. At the time, the car had a 355 in it, and I think it went 1056 at 126 miles an hour at the last event, last fall. The weather this weekend looks beautiful. I think it's going to be really good for the track. I think it's going to be really good for Jack's Wax. Brittany Automotive is going to be there. We're going to be there. I think it's going to be a really good time. So if you'd like to see us or hang out with us a little bit, it's not a real serious event, you know, where we're trying to race and be competitive. We're just kind of going down there to hang out and have a good time, make a few laps. Billy's taking the Phantom GT Mustang, the giveaway Mustang that we're giving away on Street Racing Channel. He's taking it down there to make some passes. That car's on slicks, so that should be a pretty decent time there. I think that car should run probably pretty deep into the fives on gate pressure, which is like 22 pounds of boost. So if you'd like to come down and check out the Mustang, it's going to be down there. Come see us. Tommy's going to have the Falcon down there, I think. Robbie may bring his Grand Prix. I'm not sure. I haven't talked to Robbie. Like I said, he's been sick and he hasn't been here for a while. So I'm not sure if Robbie plans on bringing the car, but I imagine he probably will. I've got a couple of grudge races locked in. I got a grudge race with a late model Coyote Mustang. It's a pretty quick car out of Columbus. And then there's a big block G-body, a big block 78 or 79 Malibu I'm locked in with on a little grudge race. It's a street car, street-ish. It's a big block, full exhaust, full interior, no cage, just like this. But it is a big block on nitrous. And of course, I've got the small block on nitrous, but we're going to give it a go. We'll see how that goes. So we're going to do that this weekend down there at Jack's Wax Street Madness. Unfortunately, Vicky's already in bed. It's 2 o'clock in the morning, and I'm out here trying to finish up this video. So she's not out here to draw the winner for last month's giveaway. But we'll probably do that on the next video, which I'm not sure when we'll get another video up. It might be tomorrow night. It may be Sunday. I don't know. We've got a busy weekend ahead of us. It may be Sunday or Monday before I put up another video. I don't know. It's just hard to tell what's going to happen around here from one day to the next. You may have noticed on my community page that I've mentioned a couple of questions on there about what you guys would be interested in. Bob and I are very seriously discussing building a small block Chevy. And that was the most popular engine combination I asked. LS, big block, or small block. And it was overwhelmingly a small block Chevy that people would be interested in. I assume that's probably because if you follow my channel, you're probably a small block guy. But we're very seriously considering building a very strong, large cubic inch, pump gas, small block Chevy to put in the Malibu and test a little bit. We're going to dyno it, put it in the car, and test it against my 421 on E85. We're going to put it in the car, test it, and once we get the combination dialed in, we're going to pull it out of the car and do a giveaway on it. So be watching for information coming on that. I think that's coming up in the not too distant future. So that's going to about do it for tonight, guys. I appreciate everybody being patient on a new video. I promise I'm trying to get back to a better schedule. It's just been difficult with the weather and everybody being sick, and just it's just been a very non-productive last 7 days around here in some ways. But we'll get back to it. Things are going to get better. We've just been really busy with a lot of not so exciting things. Some of it is exciting, but just not really something that you want to put in a video, or I don't feel like anybody's going to be really interested in watching some of it. But there's good things coming. Our family's moving forward in a really positive direction. So really happy about that. And I'm really looking forward to what's coming up in the next few months. Good night, everybody.